Why is it an important topic for us? Number one, it's an important topic for us because it must be tested in our exams, this topic here. It borrows quite a lot from what you guys did in CPA section 3, financial management. One thing you're supposed to know about this capital budgeting is that capital is scarce. Tell us there that capital is what here? Is scarce. Capital is scarce. There is nobody in this world, be it our presidents of all these nations globally. There is nobody who can ever tell you that they have got capital that is unlimited. Capital is limited. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, with this scarcity, we know that serious investors will always have what we call competing projects. Normally, for whichever kind of business that you're doing, you must always have what we call competing projects whose capital requirement exceeds the available resources, resources. So capital is very scarce, and we are saying that for our businesses, we must, of course, be having competing projects whose capital requirement exceeds available resources. For instance, we are in the process of coming up with an app. Already, we have done an app for Android phones, right? Now we are torn in between. Should we go in this case here now for an app, what we call a desktop app, or in this case here, an iPhone app? Because really, we should be able to bring every student that we have in this country within our learning platform, and the app is the way to go. So we have got like how many competing projects for that matter? 3 of them. And of course, for us to be able to move around those particular options, we may need like 10 million. Now listen and listen to me very well. So we have here project A, project B, project C. These are the competing projects. So project A requires how much? Project A may be requiring, for example, 3 million. Project B may be needing like 2 million. Project C may be needing something like, say, for example, 4 million, like that. So in total, ladies and gentlemen, the total resources required for us to be able to execute the three, is 9 million. 9 million is not an amount that we have as a RCM anywhere. Trust you, we don't have this, right? So what if in this case here we only have the available? What if, for example, the available is Kenya shillings 6 million? It means, ladies and gentlemen, we must budget for whatever capital that we have. We have to plan for this capital so that you can, at the end of the day, we may not be able to afford the 3, but at the end of the day, with the proper capital planning, capital budgeting, we'll be able to maximize the returns that we shall be able to get from just the project we shall be able to execute. So it's all about optimization. And that is why, for you to be able to say that, hey, drop project A because we can't afford all of them, or drop project C because we can't afford all of them, we must have a criteria. So which criteria are we going to use? And now that introduces me to the very first subtopic here of capital budgeting, in this case here, which is expected monetary value, expected. So we have, you can write this, expected. And I think my camera is not very nice. Let me adjust my camera a little bit. Great. So we have here expected monetary value, expected monetary value. That's the first thing. Standard deviation, and coefficient of variation, Very important for us to really master this. So I would want to know whether you guys have been able to write today's date somewhere there and today's major subtopic called expected monetary value, standard deviation, and the coefficient of what here? coefficient of variation. Have we been able to do that? Have we been able to do that? Have we been able to do this? Have we been able to do this? Have we been able to do this? Please, this is a very good opportunity that I have. A very good opportunity that I have for me to be able to really get a response from you. Get a response from you. Great. Yes. Yes. Thank you very much. And I would want us then to introduce something small there, very small, really. This is a subject of great students. My students normally pass round 1. And every semester, my online students here get what here? They get awards. They get awards. So for expected monetary value, I don't have to tell you what expected monetary value stands for. I don't have to tell you what the standard deviation stands for. Neither should I tell you what coefficient of variation stands for. I would want to do an exercise right away. So this exercise, we have here the status. So exercise, we have the state. So the state here is A, B, C. Then they have given us the probability for the states. Probability for the states, we have 0.3, 0.6, and 0.1. And then they have given us what we call the net present value. So net present value here is 20 in shillings thousands. We have 30, we have 50, like that. So for this question, we are required to determine, number 1, expected monetary value. Expected monetary value. Number 2, the standard deviation. Number 3, the CV. The CV. CV stands for coefficient of who? Coefficient of variation. Coefficient of variation. So they want me to adjust the camera. They want me to adjust the camera. Are you able to see my board very well, or there is a problem? Is there somebody who is able to see my board very well? Is there somebody who is able to see my board very well? Is there somebody who is able to see my board very well? So perhaps Purity, it could be your internet. And I know why, Purity, you are not able to see my board very well. It's because, Purity, your video is on. When your video is on, you're using a lot of internet. You're using a lot of internet. The same case with Peter. Always try to put your videos off. Spotlight. Stop video. All students in this case here were putting on their videos. Always ensure I know what next time I'll be doing. So it's only Peter. Peter, I don't know what you have done. I'm not able to mute you really. I'd rather put off your video, but we shall overcome. We shall overcome. Even Elijah, please try to put off your video because you are really affecting students' bundles. Great. Thank you. Thank you. So when they want me to get expected monetary value, could you kindly remind us, how do we get expected monetary value? To get expected monetary value, basically expected monetary value is the average, right? Expected monetary value is the average. Yes, this is the first lesson. This is the first lesson. Yes. So expected monetary value, expected monetary value, monetary value, this is the mean, the X bar. And if you can remember, to get X bar, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to take the X values that we have, we multiply them with their corresponding probabilities, and then we sum. We sum like that. We sum like that. So remember that this NPV is my X. This is my probability, my P, X. So ladies and gentlemen, listen and listen to me very well. For me to get expected, you see, if it is state A that will prevail, I'll get 20. If it is state B that will prevail, I'll get 30. If it is C that will prevail, I'll get 50. So at the end of the day, I'm not so sure of which state will prevail. And that is why I would want to work with an expected value, an average value. If, for example, we never had these probabilities, then the expected value would have been 20 plus 30 plus 50 divided by what? 3. I would have gotten what we call the simple average. But you see now here, we have probabilities in the context. And whenever you have probabilities in the context, then what you need to do, what the literature tells us, is to take the X values that you have, you multiply them with their corresponding what your probabilities. Thank you very much, Amonde Clinton. So then what I'm supposed to do, I'm supposed to come and talk of the X bar to be equal to the X value is here, which is 20, times the corresponding probability here, which is 0.3, or remember, or stands for add, or rather even for this summation. Or the second one here is 30 times 0.6, or 50 times 0.1, 50 times 0.1. Then could you kindly give me a figure for this? Kindly give me a figure for this. Could you kindly give me a figure for this? Kindly give me a figure for this. Kindly give me a figure for this. Kindly give me a figure for this. Is there somebody who is able to give me this expected monetary value, which is the same as X bar, the mean? So they're telling me, Shem is telling me 29. David is confirming 29. Thank you very much. 29 is the in thing. Thank you very much. So this is what we expect to get. Assuming we had 2 projects, project A has an expected monetary value of 29, and the project B has an expected monetary value of 50. Listen, expected monetary value for A is 29, and the expected monetary value of B is 50. If you're to choose between the 2 projects, which project would have you, in this case here, settled for? Would have you settled for A or B? Somebody help me out. Would have you settled for A or B? Remember, I'm saying that A has an expected monetary value of 29, and B has an expected monetary value of 50. Remember that the higher the expected monetary value, the better a project is. When it comes to you sieving through your projects, always settle for the project that has got the highest expected monetary value. Then I would have settled for boy. I would have settled for boy. Ladies and gentlemen, from there now straight away, I'll be able to go to the second component here, which is the standard deviation. So the standard deviation, so we have here C is the standard deviation. So remember, the professional symbol of standard deviation is written like this. It's written like this. So here what you're supposed to do is to write a 0 and then you pull the tail. So this is the standard this is the standard deviation. That is the standard deviation. The standard deviation like that. So is there any good student who can remind us, how do we normally get the standard deviation? How do we normally get the standard deviation? How do we get the standard deviation? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, to get the standard deviation, really, this is not a problem at all. Because from high school, I know what they told me from high school. From high school, they told me that if I would want to get the standard deviation of X, standard deviation means that I should subtract X minus who? Minus X bar. That is the deviation. Deviation means it's a measure of spread. So I should take here X minus who? Minus X bar. But now remember, it is a special deviation. This special deviation, whatever you have here as your difference, you must square it. If you have probabilities, you must come and by the side there, and multiply. with your probabilities. And then remember that these deviations are many. And because they are many, ladies and gentlemen, you need to come and do what here? You need to come and sum them up. And then now you'll be able to do what Stephen Guga is telling us. You'll come and do what Stephen Guga is telling us. After you've gotten the squared deviations, and you have summed them up, you must come and remember to do what here? To give us a square, to give us a square root like that, to give us a square root like that. This is great. This is great. When they want me to give them the standard deviation of x, when they want me to give them the standard deviation of x, so it is the deviation of the x values. So I'll come and talk over x minus who? X minus x bar. It is x minus x bar. That difference is a, remember that this standard deviation, we normally call it a root mean square. If you remember by definition, standard deviation is a root mean square. And then, of course, we must always start with what here? First of all, writing down the difference. Writing down the difference like that. And then we start here, square. So you square that difference. From there, we go to the mean. If assuming the probabilities weren't there, then I would have divided this by n. But because of the probabilities existing here, to average, I'll multiply the squared matrix there with the probability. And then remember, there are many. So then I need to come and do what I need to come and sum. And then at the end of the day, I'll be able to get the square root. So we start with squaring the difference, averaging, multiplying with the p. And then at the end of the day, after the summation here, please come and give us what we call the standard what here? Deviation square root. Standard deviation square root. Standard deviation must always have what here? Must always have a square root. Must always have a square. Now listen and listen to me very well, ladies and gentlemen. When they tell me to give them the standard deviation of NPV, not a problem. What I'll do, I'll come and say it is the actual net present values that I have minus the average. Average is what we shall be calling expected net present values. Expected net present values. So ladies and gentlemen, the moment I do it like this, I'll come and put this difference, I square it. I multiply with P. And then I'll not forget this fact that I have to come and do what here? Sum, like that. And then at the end of it all, if it is a standard deviation, lazima ivae kofia. Lazima ivae kofia namna hiyo. 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 So ladies and gentlemen, I want to believe that this is okay. And if it's okay with all of us, then I would want us to come and get the simple differences squared. I would want us to come and create a column here for whatever we have in bracket, which is NPV minus expected net present value squared, like that. Great, great, great. Let's see what we have. Great, great. So let's see what we have. So remember, it is a net present, the actual ones that you have. So this is 20, 30, 50. I say minus, minus, minus. So is there somebody who is able to tell me what am I supposed to subtract here? Is there anybody who is able to remember this figure? Is there anybody who is able? Expected net present value is the same as what you expected monetary value. You guys are bright. So I need to come and put here 29. And remember, expected net present value will not keep on fluctuating. It's an average that has to really remain constant throughout. And then, ladies and gentlemen, once I have this, what I need to do is to come and do what here? Is to come and square like that. Times, I'm following now here. I'm now following here this formula. So I want to put my probabilities out there. I would want to put my probabilities out there. So the probabilities are here. So we have 0.3, we have 0.6, we have 0.1. Do we have our calculators with us? 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 So please ensure that you are following your body mass rule very nicely by opening bracket first. You open bracket first, say 20 minus 29, you close, you square, whatever you get, you say times 0.3. Whatever you get, you say times 0.3. And then you tell me, what do we have there? You tell me, what do you have there? You tell me, what do we have there? What do we have there? The first one. The first one, according to Madam Caroline and Purity, they are getting 24.3, but you see, I cannot buy an answer from 2 students only. I have more than 60 students here. So they're telling me that the first one should be 24.3. Thank you very much. The first one, I'm being told it is 24.3. How about, thank you, Shem, thank you, Susan. How about the second one? How about, thank you, Lydia, thank you, Rhoda. Please, Rhoda, oh, they are getting me the second one. So the second one, they're telling me, Mwalimu, this is 0.6. Thank you very much. The second one, they're telling me, Mwalimu, this is 0.6. Mwalimu, we've been able to follow our body mass rule very nicely. We've been able to follow the body mass rule very, very nicely. How about the third one, the last one? The last one, I'm being told it's 44 point what here? It is 44.1. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember the rule here. After I've been able to get these individual deviations multiplied by their probabilities, the rule tells me to come and sum. The rule tells me to come and sum. So is there somebody who is able to sum for me? Is there somebody who is able to sum for me? Is there somebody who is able to sum for me? Somebody sum for me. They're telling me it is 69. Now, I would want to give a present to that good student who will be able to tell me, ladies and gentlemen, this 69 in mathematics stands for what? This 69 in mathematics stands for what? This 69 in mathematics stands for what? The 69, there is a language there. The 69 stands for what? Variance. Thank you very much. Variance. Thank you very much. This 69 basically is our variance. The 69 is our variance. And that is why you guys keep on telling me that standard deviation is the square root of who? Standard deviation is the square root of the variance. Standard deviation is the square root of the variance. It is the square root of what here? 69. It is the square root of 69. So can somebody give me this standard deviation then? Standard deviation then. So Lydia Muteru, she's telling me it is 8.3. Thank you very much. 8.3. 2 decimal places would suffice. 8.31. 8.31 is okay with me. 8.31 is okay with me. 8.31 is okay with me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, listen and listen to me very well. I would want us to go to the last area. The last area here is called the coefficient of variation. The last area here is called coefficient of who? Variation. The last area is called coefficient of variation. So the last area is called coefficient of variation. So coefficient of variation, I like coefficient of variation so much. I like coefficient of variation so much. I'll never forget. I can forget about any other formula, but I'll never forget about CV because the teacher who taught me those old days told me that for me to be able to remember CV, I should always know that CV is sex in percentage. Is sex in percentage. CV is sex in percentage. So is there anybody who is able to tell me what this S stands for? Is there anybody who is able to tell me what this S stands for? What does this S stand for? Yeah, standard deviation, isn't it? Standard deviation. How about X bar? How about X bar? X bar, X bar, X bar. How about X bar? The mean, isn't it? The mean. The mean, expected monetary value, expected net present value. The same. You guys are bright. You guys are bright. You guys are bright. So then could you kindly do me a favor? Could you kindly do me a favor? Please come and give me here my CV. So in short, you're saying that the CV for this project will be the standard deviation that you guys just gave me divided by the expected monetary value, which is the same as the expected net present value. So the standard deviation that I can remember vividly here is 8.31. 8.31 divided by expected monetary value. What was the expected net present value for us? The expected money. The expected money. The expected money here, Caroline tells me, was 20. How come it's only Caroline? Also, Irimo has been able to remember this, was 29 times 100. So could you kindly give me the final answer? Kindly give me the final answer. They're telling me it is 28.66%. it is 28.66%. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So please remember that whenever you hear of CV, what comes to your mind? Whenever you hear of coefficient of variation, always think about what here? Sex in percentage. Where my sex is a gender. Gender. It is boy, girl, boy, girl. Boy, girl. And of course, I know you guys, there is nobody who has got evil thoughts. Who is saying that mwalimu now is crazy, you know? No, it's boy, girl, it's gender. It's gender. Thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, assuming you've got two projects here, we have project A, project B, and then they have given us CV. This happens to have a CV of 30%. B happens to have a CV of 50%. Remember, coefficient of variation is a measure of what here? Is a measure of risk. Coefficient of variation is a measure of risk. The higher the CV, the higher the risk inherent in a project. So if you're the one, you've been faced by two situations here. One whose CV is 30%, another one whose CV is 50%. Which one will you settle for? Will you settle for A? Will you settle for B? Omondi is telling me adopt A. Omondi is telling me to adopt A. Ladies and gentlemen, all of you are wrong. Thank you very much for trying, but all of you are wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, to answer this kind of a question, you must remember what we call the risk attitudes. The extreme risk attitudes, there are two of them. We have in this case here somebody who is risk averse, somebody who is risk averse, and then we have somebody who is a risk who. So a risk averse is that person who fears risk. So risk averse, you'll advise them to go for A. And then we have got risk takers. You advise them always to venture into risky, 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 risky. Yes, yes. So if this person is a risk taker, advise him to go for a project that has got what here? A higher risk. If they fear risks like ourselves here, advise us to go for a project with a lower what here? A project with a lower risk. A project with a lower risk. So are we together up to there? 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 Sylvia says yes. Sylvia says yes. Peter says yes. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have been able to pick these concepts of CV, etc., etc. like that, I would now want to go a notch higher. And this notch higher model that I would want to pick for tonight, I would want us to do 3 models. Tonight, I would want us to look at what we call sensitivity analysis. So we have what we call sensitivity analysis. What we also call the what if analysis, also known as the what if analysis, also known as the what if analysis. So sensitivity analysis is a nice one. Basically, sensitivity analysis will be asking ourselves a simple question. What if this particular factor changes, right? What if we had set a price of 10 shillings? What if that price was to go down? What if that price was to go down? What if that price was to go down? Ladies and gentlemen, I would want to share some handout with you here. Very important handout, which I would want to share with you. Note this one. Just a minute. I want to imagine it has not disappeared, because if it does that, then straight away we will also disappear, all of us. But I'm an experienced teacher, of course, that can't happen. An experienced teacher, will always have a solution. There are past paper questions that I can do. There are very many things that I could do. Great. So please tell me whether you are able to see my screen. Are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see my screen? And if you're able to see my screen, which words are you able to see there which strikes you nicely? Are you able to see my screen? So here the thing that I'm able to see, the stuff that I'm able to see, which works out for me very well, are these three words: Zoom classes, work magic. Work magic. There is no way you can ever compare Zoom classes with what here? With physical classroom setups. I normally sympathize with students. When I see students really trying to beat the jam all over, moving left, right, and center, trying to locate a physical classroom. Why? This Zoom is the future. It is the way. This is comprehensive. It's so nice. It's not so nice. That is not why I chose to share this with you. I chose to share this with you because I would want us to appreciate the concept of sensitivity analysis. How sensitive is the project to one particular variable? Meaning, ladies and gentlemen, that sensitivity analysis shall be looking at, shall be analyzing how sensitive a project is using one variable at a time. Sensitivity analysis is a one variable model. It basically shows us what percentage, by what percentage should one variable change before a project becomes undesirable. By what percentage should a project change? Should a variable change? By what percentage should a variable change before a project becomes undesirable? I.e., before a project's net present value becomes zero. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is something very important that I would want you to pick here. In sensitivity analysis, these guys are mentioning the word what here? Net present value. So there is no way you'll be able to compute any sensitivity analysis percentages without knowing how to compute net present value. And how do we compute net present value? If you remember, there is just another class that I did for you here, which was a mock class. It wasn't really a real class, but we did say with yourselves here, we did say this. We said that generally in financial management, there are two types of cash flows. There are two types of who? Of cash flows. There are two types of cash flows. We have number one, what we call irregular cash flows. We have what we call irregular cash flows. And if you remember, we said that irregular cash flows, we always use PVIF. Irregular cash flows, we always use PVIF. Right? For the students who are joining us for the very first time, PVIF is not a big Greek terminology. PVIF stands for present value interest factor. PVIF stands for present value interest factor. PVIF stands for present value interest factor. This is the one that we shall be using to discount irregular cash flows. How about the second type? The second type is what now we call regular. Regular is the uniform. The uniform are also the ones you guys call annuities. These are the ones that you guys also call annuities. And the regular cash flows, ladies and gentlemen, we shall always be abbreviating them or rather discounting them using the famous model called the PVFA, present value interest factor of an annuity. Present value interest factor of an annuity. And then remember, in CPA section 3, In the intermediate financial management level, we were really so nice to you guys. We even used to give you finance tables, annuity tables. We used to give you the lump sum tables. Not here. In advanced financial management, we must always be at a position of remembering the PVIF formula. If you remember PVIF, we said PVIF formula is 1 plus R raised to negative N. The PVIF formula here is 1 plus R raised to negative N. Present value interest factor. The moment I know and I cram this formula, then I'm a genius in terms of financial management. This formula will make you see places that you've never seen before, like CPA Kenya. There is nobody here who has ever seen CPA Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, from there we have what we call the PVIF. I love the PVIF because the moment you've given me PVIF, to get PVIF, I'll talk of 1 minus PVIF formula. I'll talk of 1 minus this simple formula, which is 1 plus R raised to negative N. And then everything, we divide everything by what here? We divide everything by R. Then we divide everything by R. We divide everything by R. So we have the PV formula, and then we have the PVIF. This will come in handy in my topic of sensitivity analysis. This will come in handy in my topic of sensitivity analysis. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, listen and listen to me very well. When you look at, for instance, here, if we have this is so important to me. This is so important to me. This is so important to me. We have year 1. We have year 1, year 2, year 3. Then they have given me the revenue I expect. The revenue I expect to get. The revenue that I expect to get in year 1 is 10. The revenue here is 2. The revenue here is not 2. The revenue here, for example, is 12. The revenue here, for example, is 15. And then they have given me the variable cost. The variable cost, ladies and gentlemen, here. The variable cost, ladies and gentlemen, here. This could be 6. Or rather, I could even just talk of cost. This could be 6. This could be 8. This could be what here, somebody? This could be, let me make this 9 to avoid the issues. This could be my variable cost here could be something like 7 like that. And then we are given the initial. We are given the initial cost of this. The initial cost of this is 2.5 million. These figures are in shillings millions. Shillings millions like that. Shillings millions like that. So we are required here, number 1, to determine the net present value of the project. Determine the net present value of the project. Determine the net present value of the project. So before I go to number 2, I would want to get the net present value of this project. I love this. This is finance. Finance is the sweetest paper in CPA. You will never get any paper that is better than this. So determine the NPV of the project. So I know, ladies and gentlemen, that net present value is all about cash flows. So come and create a column here for what we call cash flows. Create a column there for what we call cash flows. So like now the cash flow here, of course, there is nothing like taxation. So the cash flow here really will be revenue minus my costs. Basically, my cash flow here will be my profit. So could you kindly give me this cash flow for year 1, cash flow for year 2, cash flow for year 3? Please give me cash flows. 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 We are subtracting revenue minus cost, revenue minus cost, revenue minus cost, revenue minus cost. What do we have? Somebody there. What do we have? Somebody there. Please help. So somebody tells me it's 4, 3, and 8. 4, 3, and 8. There is something I forgot. There is something I forgot. I forgot the cork. I forgot the cork. I forgot the cork, which is 10%. The cork to us is cost of what year? Cost of capital. The cost of capital is 10%. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when you look at the cash flows that we have, Where would you categorize these cash flows? Are you seeing any uniformity here? Are you seeing any uniformity there? No, they're irregular. I can see they are wobbling around, they're changing around, they're irregular. And if you tell me to discount these irregular cash flows, they're telling me that these cash flows are irregular. And if you tell me to discount these irregular cash flows, I know the natural partner of irregular cash flows is PVIF. I know the natural partner of irregular cash flows is PVIF. And for us to be able to get this PVIF, we normally talk of 1 plus R raised to negative N. 1 plus R raised to negative N. You may forget about everything that I've taught you today, but please never forget about PVIF, which is a natural partner of irregular cash flows that are dancing or lump sums. Ladies and gentlemen, do we know our R? R stands for required rate of return. Required rate of return, the investors are calling it a rate of return. How about from the other side of the firm? The firm is calling it a cost of capital it received. So R is 10%. So meaning that these will be 1.1, 1.1. Hata hawajaona nimetoa 1.1 wapi. Hawajaona nimetoa 1.1 wapi. Iko mwanafunzi mwenye anaweza niambia nimetoa 1.1 wapi. Iko mwanafunzi mwenye ameona 1.1 nimetoa wapi. Iko mwanafunzi mwenye ameona 1.1 nimetoa wapi. Iko mwanafunzi mwenye ameona 1.1 nimetoa wapi. 1 plus R. Thank you very much. It is 1 plus R. And R happens to be 10%. 10% is the same as 0.1. So it is 1 plus 0.1. Ladies and gentlemen, if that is the case, then I now need to come and introduce the negative. So raised to negative, raised to negative, raised to negative. So then this will be raised to negative N. N is the year. So raised to negative 1. This will be raised to minus 2. This will be raised to minus 3. And then if I have good students, could you then kindly go ahead and give me, this, what is 1.1 raised to negative 1? Remember, this is a negative. Please ensure that you have your calculator with you. Don't rely with our figures. You really need to feel that you are in a live class. You're in a live class. So 1.1 raised to negative 1. Somebody is giving me a figure of 0.9091. 0.9091. 0.9091. How about the next one? 1.1 raised to minus. I can see so many students here who are not using their calculators. Even if it's your mobile phone, please ensure that you are using your calculator. Please ensure that you are using your calculator. Please ensure that you are using your calculator. So somebody tells me the third one is 7513. The third one is 7530, but they haven't given me yet the second one. They haven't given me the second one yet. So how about the second one? How about the second one? How about the second one? The second one is 8264. So 0.8264. Now, could you kindly be nice to me this evening? After I've been able to get these PVs, what do you think will be the next thing to be done? What do you think will be the next thing to be done? What do you think will be the next thing to be done? Having gotten the PVs. Get the present value, multiply, isn't it? Summation, no, we can't sum RODA before we multiply because it's all about us giving them the discounted cash flows. So we want to subject the cash flows to the PVs. So please come and multiply the two for you to be able to give us what we call now the present values. For you to give us the last column of present values. So I would want to see somebody multiply. I would want to see somebody multiply. I would want to see somebody multiplying. What do we have there? Somebody would want to see somebody multiplying. So they're giving me a figure of 3.6364. They're giving me a figure of 3.63 Thank you very much. 64. How about the next one? This times this. This times this gives me what figure? 2.4792. 2.4792. 2.4792. Thank you very much, Atieno. Then the last one will be 8 times 60, 104. So we have here 60, 104. Then there is a decimal point there. Ladies and gentlemen, having done whatever you guys have been able to guide me to do, the next thing, of course, now that these cash flows are cash flows belonging to the same period, these ones, they have been discounted from the future to the present value, the present time. Now I can add. Thank you very much, Carol. Please go ahead and sum for us. Please go ahead and sum for us. So when you sum for us, what do we have there as our present value? Atieno tells me it is 12.226. 12.226, like that. So this is what we call the total present value. This is what we call the total present value. Now, having gotten the total present value, don't lose focus. The examiner wanted us to determine the net present value. The examiner wanted us to determine the net present value. So for me to be able to get the net present value, we are talking of 12.226 minus the initial outlay. Initial outlay, which is 2.5. Remember, these figures are in millions. Stella has raised her hand. I don't know why. I think there must be a problem. Not correct. It's supposed to be 12.126. Thank you very much. So they raised their hands. Thank you very much. You guys are brilliant. It's supposed to be 12.16. Thank you very much. So then this is supposed to be 12.126 minus the initial outlay. Remember, net present value means net of the initial outlay. Net of the initial outlay. So somebody called Clinton is giving me a figure of 9.626. 9.626, like that. 9.626, like that. So is this project viable or not viable? Is it viable or not viable? Viable or not viable? Is it viable or not viable? Yes, I can see what they're telling me. The project is viable simply because we have a positive net present value. We have a positive net present value. We have a positive net present. If it were a negative net present value, then I would have said straight away, the project is not viable. Thank you. Thank you. Can I go to Roman 2 of this question? Are we okay up to where we are? Are we okay up to where we are? Is there anybody who is seeing this mwalimu for the very first time? Is there anybody who is seeing this mwalimu for the very first time, that you have never seen this mwalimu before? You've never seen this mwalimu before. This is the very first time you are seeing this mwalimu. It's good for me to get that feedback. It's good for me to get that feedback. Is there somebody who is seeing mwalimu today for their very first time? For their very first time. Oh, okay. Even Dixon, even Lucy, okay. Even Isaiah. It means that I'm not doing very well in terms of marketing myself. I'm not a good marketer. It means I'm not a good marketer. Love classes, great. Yes, I'm not a good marketer. I'll have to up my game. I'll have to up my game. Oh, it shows that CM is growing. Okay. That is it. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I would want us to take this ball a little bit higher before I take an opportunity, a minute, of introducing myself. I would want us to go to Roman number 2. So Roman number 2, I want you to carry out sensitivity analysis of the project in relation to the revenues. Remember, we said that sensitivity analysis is for one variable at a time. One variable at a time. So in this case, I would want to isolate revenue. We want to work with revenue alone. So sensitivity analysis of the project in relation to the revenue. Ladies and gentlemen, this is very easy. To get the percentage change, I'll take the NPV of the project the NPV of the project all over the present value of the revenue of the factor times 100. It's very easy, times 100. So in this case, you have to get the percentage. You know, sensitivity analysis is the same as percentage change. Sensitivity analysis is the same as percentage change. Is the same as percentage change. So to get the percentage change, you take the net present value all over the present value of revenue times 100. So I know the NPV. How about the present value of revenue? The present value of revenue, I can see my revenue amount. Unfortunately, I can see the PVs. So what I need to do is to multiply. So what I need to do is to come and, ladies and gentlemen, right here, the present value of revenue. I love sensitivity analysis. Present value of revenue. So it is these revenues that I'm going to multiply them with their PVs as I add. I can do a column up there. I always see something saying a column up there for present value of revenue. You don't have to do that. I'll come here and talk of 10. I know the PV of 10. I know the PV of 10, which is 0.9091, plus the second revenue is 12. And I know the PV of 12, which is 0.8264, plus I can see the third revenue, which is 15 times the PV over 15, 7513. So could you kindly give me the present value? Could you kindly give me the present value of revenue? Could you kindly give me the present value of revenue? Could you kindly give me the present value of revenue? Present value of revenue. Please give me the present value of revenue. Please give me the present value of revenue. Give me the present value of revenue. Just simply more. So you're taking the revenue metrics multiplied by what are the PVs? Multiplied by the PVs. Isaiah says we shall overcome. That's a very powerful terminology. So are you able to hear Mwalimu very well? Ladies and gentlemen, are you able to hear Mwalimu very well? I can see somebody saying it is too much breaking. Are you able to hear Mwalimu very well? It must be internet from his side. Must be internet from his side. Thank you very much. Must be internet. So 30.2773. So this is 30.2773. Thank you very much. If that is the case, then could you kindly go ahead and give me the percentage change? Percentage change. Now that we have everything, now go ahead and give us the percentage change of revenue. Quite interesting. Percentage change of revenue. Remember, the formula is quite an easy one. The formula is net present value. The net present value, you guys gave me a figure of 9 points. I can't remember very well. Is there somebody who is able to remind us the net present value here? Is there somebody who is able to remind us the net present value that we got for the project? Net present value that we got for project, 9.626. So I'll talk of 9.626 all over the PV. Remember, this is PV of revenue. And the PV of revenue, guys, have given me a figure of 30.2773 times 100. So could you kindly give me this figure? 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 Could you kindly give me this figure in form of percentage? In form of percentage, I'm being given a figure of 31.79. 31.79%. It means that I can tweak. I can change revenue by a whole 31.79% before the project becomes undesirable. I can reduce my revenues by a whole this before I reach NPV of zero status. But you don't even want to go to interpretations. The best thing that I would want you guys to do for me now is number three. Number three, I would want you to carry out sensitivity analysis of costs. Let's see. Sensitivity analysis of cost. Let me give you a minute. Sensitivity analysis of what year of cost. Let me give you a minute. Sensitivity analysis of cost. Let me give you a minute. Sensitivity analysis of cost. Let me give you a minute. Sensitivity analysis of cost. Let me give you a minute. Sensitivity analysis of cost. Let me give you a minute. Sensitivity analysis of cost. How I wish I had even one student who would have straight away knocked us with the formula. No, there are many ways of knocking down, right? Right? You can give just somebody a hard kick by writing the formula down. Just that, especially if you don't have a calculator, right? It's your biggest way that you can contribute, right? It's your biggest way that you can contribute. All right, all right, all right, all right. Thank you very much, Moreka. It's NPV of the project over PV of cost. I'm assuring you, Moreka, remember Moreka, today is a Friday evening, right? If we were to be with you somewhere out there, honestly speaking, I would have bought you dinner because of giving me a very hard knock, right? The formula, that's a punchline. The moment I know the formula mean, all these other things here will be able to fall in place. I know somebody may tell me, Mwalimu, why can't you send Moreka M-Pesa? No, my M-Pesa is not working. My M-Pesa is not working, right? Great. So what they're telling me, ladies and gentlemen, here is that for me to be able to carry out this sensitivity analysis of cost, for me to be able to carry out this sensitivity analysis of cost, they are telling me, Mwalimu, take the NPV of the project over the present value of cost times 100. So I do not have any problem whatsoever with the NPV. That one will be cross-cutting. What I need to do is to come and ascertain here the present value of cost. So the present value of cost, I can see my cost elements here. I can see 6 times 0.9091. I can see plus 9 times 0.8264. I can see 7 there, 7 times 0.7513. So I'll be able to get the present value of cost, as Madam Rhoda is telling me, is 13.242. 13.242. Thank you. Now, after that, then I'll be able to come and plug in. I'll plug in easily. You guys gave me NPV of 9 point something. 9.5, I think 26. All over this. 13.242 times 100. Times 100. Times 100. So what are they able to give us as the answer? They're saying no. They are saying no. There must be a problem. They are telling me that this is supposed to be 9.626, no problem. This is supposed to be 9.626, but nevertheless, they're still saying that this present value of cost is supposed to be a different amount. It's supposed to be a different amount. I don't know how truthful. I don't know how truthful it is. Present. Please, somebody, PV is 18.15. 18.15, 13. Sorry for that. It's supposed to be 18.15, 13. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. 18, 15, 13. So please change this to 18, 15, 13. 18, 15, 13, decimal like that, times 100%. So then that gives me what figure, somebody? Thank you very much. Then that at the end of the day, what figure shall we be getting? What figure shall we be getting? What figure shall we be getting? And I'm so happy. I began with about 65, 67 students. You guys have been able to hold on. So the percentage change is 53.03. The percentage change is 53.03%. Thank you. 53.03%. Thank you, and thank you very much. Now we do the last one, which is number 4. We do the last one, which is number 4. I want you to carry out the sensitivity analysis. The sensitivity analysis of initial cost. Sensitivity analysis of initial cost. The sensitivity analysis of initial cost. Sensitivity analysis of initial cost. The sensitivity analysis of initial cost. Sensitivity analysis of initial cost. Let me give you 1 minute. Those guys who know how to throw punchlines, at least they should have given us the formula. Sensitivity analysis of the initial cost. So also I would want to welcome each one of you into my tomorrow's AFR class. Tomorrow's AFR class will be at 2 p.m. I would want to make it a free of charge class and invite each one of you to attend. You know, the good thing with me is that I can teach any paper of CPA effectively, efficiently. And I really know how to push the syllabus. Like by the time we finish our 2 hours, you'll be surprised how I would have gone, how far I would have gone with this. Okay. Make it at 8 p.m. tomorrow. No, it's already timetabled. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But what I don't know is whether I'll get anybody attending. You know, I don't want to also organize a class where nobody will attend. Do I have anybody who will be able to attend that advanced financial reporting class tomorrow at 2? Tomorrow at 2 p.m. I can see Rhoda. Any other student will be available tomorrow at 2 p.m. I'll be there. Monday. Great. Sylvia. Then I'll not be alone. Thank you very much. Bansi. Thank you very much. I won't be alone. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, then this percentage change will be NPV over present value of initial cost. So NPV was 9.626. I keep on forgetting this figure. Over present value of the initial cost. Initial cost is always at present value. Initial cost. Don't discount the initial cost because the initial cost will be incurred today. But future figure, it's at today's figure. Times 100, times 100. This goes all the way up to almost 300, if not 400%. So Carol tells me 385.04%. Ladies and gentlemen, between the three factors, which factor is the most sensitive? Which factor should we really be very concerned about? Is it cost? Is it initial cost? Or is it revenue? Which factor should we really be concerned about mostly? It is the one that has the lowest percentage. The one that has the lowest percentage is the one that does not give you a lot of flexibility. If you get sensitivity analysis of a factor like being 1%, it means just a small reduction like that. The project becomes undesirable. But you can see like now the one that has got 385%, it means that I've got a big room of playing around. It's a what if I change this? So it's telling me that even if you change by whatever amount, so long as it doesn't exceed this, then the project is still what here. So the lower the sensitivity analysis, the lower the sensitivity percentage, the lower the sensitivity percentage, the higher the criticality. So the critical factor here, the one that is got a higher sensitivity, the one that you guys have to really look at critically, I'm being told is revenue. Let me make this clear. 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 We are saying, ladies and gentlemen, here, the smaller the percentage, the more sensitive the decision is to a change in the variable. To a change in the variable. To a change in the variable. Now, there is a question that I would want you guys to do here as homework for you. This is one of RCM Online College. So I would want you to take a screenshot of this question. Take a screenshot of this question. I can even pull it a little bit higher for you to get what here, some answers. Yeah, some answers, right? So have you been able to take a screenshot of this question? Have you been able to take a screenshot of this question? Have you been able to take a screenshot of this question? So if you've been able to take a screenshot of this question, if you've been able to take a screenshot of this question, we have, I want to believe that some of us some of us, I want to believe that some of us have already bought these books. I want to believe that some of us have already bought these books written by myself here, of course, with my team. All right. If you have it, I would want us straight away to go to our past paper question. And the one that I would want us to do today is the question that I would want us to do today. Sorry, I'm looking for it. The one that I would want us to do today, which is a nice one. Why is it disappearing? Why are you disappearing now? I'll have to get you. Yeah, November 2015, question number 1, boy. November 2015, question number 1, boy. November 2015, question number 1, boy. Once we get it, you simply write there Y for yes. Y for yes. And of course, to make even our work easier, once you get it, take a screenshot, throw it on WhatsApp. Throw it on WhatsApp on both groups, the free group and the paid group. The free group and the paid group. It's November 2015, question number 1, boy. Question number 1, boy. Are we there? Are we there? Since I'm talking to me. Remember, we have got that link which has got past papers. November 2015, question number 1, boy. November 2015, question number 1, boy. November 2015, question number, even if you don't have it, you can read it. You can just read it, and I'm so sure this will make students to appreciate this better. So we have here, we are told, a company is considering whether to purchase equipment to increase its production and sales volumes. The equipment cost is 500 million. So equipment cost, you can put in millions. Equipment cost is 500. The question itself is November 2015. November 2015. November 2015. Question number 1, boy. Question 1, boy. November 2015. Question number 1, boy. All right. All right. So we have the initial cost is 500, and it has a useful life. Useful life over how many years? Useful life of 3 years. After which it can be sold as scrap. After which it can be sold as scrap for 80. For each of the 3 years of usage, the equipment is expected to increase revenue. So revenue per annum for each of the 3 years. For each of the 3 years, revenue will be 600 per annum. All right. And then we have a cost. Operating cost will be 390 per annum. Then they have given us the COC, which is 10%. And then we are required to give them the percentage change. The percentage change. The percentage change. Required, the percentage change required in each of the following factors. In each of the following factors. In each of the following factors. In each of the following factors for the project to be rejected. For the project to be rejected. For the project to be rejected. And these are the ones that they would want us to look at. Number 1, initial cost of the equipment. initial cost of the equipment, initial cost of the equipment. Then number 2, scrap value of the equipment, scrap value of the equipment. And then number 3, we have sales revenue. We have sales revenue, sales revenue. We have sales revenue. We have sales revenue. We have sales revenue. So have we been able to write up to here so that I can move on to the solution? Have we been able to write up to here so that I can move very fast to the solution, ladies and gentlemen? Have we written up to here so that I can move to the solution? If yes, you simply say Y for yes, and then I'll be able to move to the solution very first. I'll be able to move on to the solution. Okay, so they're not talking to me. Have we been able to really write the question? Can I go to the solution very fast? Can I go to the solution very fast? Can I go to the solution very fast? Can I go to the solution very first? Can I go to the solution? Can I do the question? Ah, Lucy, I'm here. What are you saying, Lucy? I'm here. So I should go now to the solution, right? Thank you very much. It's a percentage change question. It's a sensitivity analysis question. Then the first thing I need to do is to compute net present value of the project. This is the first thing. Compute the net present value of the project. Compute the net present value of the project. So is there somebody who can do this for me very fast? Compute NPV of the project. So the first thing that I'll do, I'll be able to map out my cash flow. The first cash flow that I'll be able to see here is this one of revenue, the first cash flow. The operating cash flow is revenue minus cost. So I'll be able to see 600 minus 390, which gives me how much? What is 600 minus 390? Sam is saying my board is not very nice. So somebody help me out here. 600 minus 390 gives me what figure? The annuity cash flow. The annuity cash flow. The annuity cash flow. 210. Thank you very much. Now, this is the first cash flow. And then now remember that this 210 will be enjoyed every year. It's a per annum. It's an annuity. There is another cash flow that so many students will always tend to forget, the scrap value. On termination of the project, I expect to sell the scrap and realize how much? Realize 80. Realize 80 and realize 80. So I can see two cash flows. I have one which is repetitive, and then I have one which is a lump sum. So don't forget the lump sum one. Ladies and gentlemen, listen and listen to me very well. This is how I'm going to get my net present value. This is how I'm going to get my net present value. So to get my net present value, I will take the 210. It's an annuity cash flow. So I'll have to multiply this with the PV plus I have the scrap. Please never forget the income coming from scrap, which is 80. And because it's not a repetitive figure, I'll multiply it with the PV. All right. And then I have the last cash flow, which is what here? The initial cost. The initial cost, I'll even come under, simply say minus 500. Initial cost, not unless you're told otherwise, initial cost is always discounted, is always at present value. So minus the initial cost. All right. So now where the biggest problem is in ascertaining this. So then we need to come and give our examiner the PV. Who can remind us the formula? Who can remind Mwalimu the formula of PV? Who can remind Mwalimu the formula of PV? Is there somebody who can remind Mwalimu the formula of PV kindly? Is there somebody who can remind Mwalimu the formula of PV kindly? Anybody who can remind Mwalimu the formula of PV kindly. Kindly, please don't get tired with me. Please don't get, thank you very much, Omondi Clinton. Omondi Clinton tells me it is 1 plus R, it is 1 plus R raised to negative N. It is 1 plus R raised to negative N. So what is our R in this question? You guys have the past paper. I don't have a past paper. What is the R? What is R here? What is our cost of capital? As the examiner given us the cost of capital, 10%. Thank you very much. So then this will be 1 plus 0.1. Remember this PV, I'm using PV for the scrap. And the scrap will be coming to us on termination of the project. The scrap will be coming to us, ladies and gentlemen, after the end of the useful life, which is the 3rd year. So then this 1 year N is year 3. So could you be kind and give me this? 1.1 raised to minus 3. 1.1 raised to minus 3 will end up giving us what figure? 0.7513. Are we able to get this figure, all of us? 0.7513. Are we able to get this figure, all of us? 0.7513. Yep. Thank you very much. Now from there, I can see I need a PV thing. So I need to come and write the formula of PV. I do not know whether there is anybody who will be able to. This is very easy. To get PV, we normally talk of 1 minus the smaller formula. 1 minus 1 plus R raised to negative, and then everything to be divided by R. Everything to be divided by R. Everything to be divided by R. So then this one here will be 1 minus 1.1 raised to minus 3 all over R, which is 0.1. So is there somebody who can give me this figure? Is there somebody who can give me this figure? Is there somebody who can give me this figure? 1 minus 1.1 raised to minus 3, everything to be divided by 0.1. Everything to be divided by 0.1. Is there somebody who can give me this figure? Lydia Charity tells me 24,869. 24,869. 24,869. But I'm quite aware that there is a decimal in between there. Thank you very much. Now the next thing will be for you to come and plug in. So the next thing will be for you to come and plug in here and tell us that net present value will be 20 times PV. PV already we have it. It is here. It is 2.4869 plus the 80, but this time round times PV. PV we already have it. It is 0.7513 minus 500. So come and give us an answer. What is the net present value there? 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 Could you kindly help me by giving me the net present value? Kindly give me the net present value. Is there somebody who knows how to move with lightning speed and give us these answers? This is supposed to be 210. Sorry. This is supposed to be 210. This is supposed to be 210. I'm sorry for that. Atieno gives me a figure of 82.353. Let me wait for any other student who will be able to give us a figure as well for purposes of doing what here? Comparing. 82. Kenneth Ogutu, you have not subtracted 82.34. Thank you very much. 82.34. Thank you very much. Like that. Now, there is one thing that you guys forgot to tell us right away, that whenever we see a positive NPV, the commentary should be that the project is viable. The project is what here? Viable. Just mentioning that word viable can make you see places that you have never seen before, like where? CPA Kenya. CPA Kenya, yes. CPA Kenya, yes. CPA Kenya, yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. But remember, it doesn't stop there. Now, from there, we should be able to go to the next thing, which is sensitivity analysis. And for sensitivity analysis, the examiner is quite a cute examiner. He's given me the factors to consider. The only thing that I need to remember is that for sensitivity analysis, unlike scenario, which will be our next topic, for sensitivity analysis, we normally go one step at a time, one variable at a time. So like now, number one, they want us to carry out sensitivity analysis of the initial cost, initial outlay. So is there somebody who is able to remind us the formula, percentage change, the percentage change So the percentage change, I knew that this will be net present value over present value of initial cost times 100. Let me go silent a little bit and see what these guys will give me, and see what these guys will give me, and see what these guys will give me. It is net present value all over present value of initial cost. Net present value all over present value of initial cost. And then I'll be able to remember very well that initial cost should never be discounted. So the NPV you guys have given me is 82.34 all over present value of initial cost. Present value of initial cost. What was the initial cost? It was 500 times 100. I'm so sure that for those of you, ladies and gentlemen, who are being taught by, it's not bad, but of course all of us began from there, but those ones who are being taught by some lecturers who basically started teaching just the other day, it's still okay. You must have used, in this case, here some different method, but the answers are what here they say? The same. Even as when we started there, we were using other methods, bad methods. These are very strong methods. And if you take key note of it, it's something you'll never forget. It's an easy method, 16.47. That is why nowadays it's important before you pick a lecturer, even ask the age, right? No, age is just a number. Age is just a number. So sensitivity analysis of the initial what year cost. The next one, they want us to give them the sensitivity analysis of what year somebody. Sensitivity analysis, the next one that they want us to do is sensitivity analysis of the scrap value of the equipment. Sensitivity analysis of the scrap value of the equipment. So they want us to give them sensitivity analysis of scrap value of equipment. Ladies and gentlemen, this will be a percentage change. It will be the NPV of the project over present value of the scrap. Okay, so NPV, already we have the net present value, which is 82.34 all over present value of the scrap. Remember the scrap, we had a scrap value, this one here. And if you remember, you know, it goes together with PV that we got. There's a PV we got somewhere. So I'm supposed to talk of 80, if I'm not wrong, times 0.7513. If I'm not wrong, I'm supposed to talk of 80 times 0.7513 times 0.7513, because this has to, it is 60.104. So it's supposed to be 82.34 all over 60.104 times 100. So what figures are we getting at the end of the day? What figures are we getting at the end of the day? What figures are we getting at the end of the day? What figures? 137%. If you remember the NPV that Moreka is telling me to repeat, there is an 80 times PV. So simply pick it from there. Put the figures here. Now the last one, ladies and gentlemen, is sensitivity analysis of sales revenue. And this one, I'll honestly speaking, keep very quiet to see whether you guys will be able to pick this very well. So come and give us the sensitivity analysis of sales revenue. Sensitivity analysis of sales revenue. Let me see whether there is even a single student who will be able to get to this correctly. So for sales revenue, what do we have there? For sales revenue, ladies and gentlemen, what we have, it will be a percentage change. Percentage change will be net present value all over present value of sales revenue times 100. So NPV, Mwalimu has forgotten his net present value. Could you kindly remind Mwalimu here the net present value? What was the net present value? Please remind me. The net present value, it's 82.34. Thank you very much. How about sales revenue? I know the sales revenue is 600, but you know, this one is repetitive. So it has to be multiplied with the PV far. because 600 is per annum. You can see it's per annum. So 600 per annum. So 600 times, Carol, remind me, what was the PV figure? 600 times PV. What was the PV figure, Carol? Carol, thank you. Please remind Mwalimu, what was the PV figure? 2.4869. 2.4869 times 100. Could you kindly give me a figure? Times 100. Kindly give me a figure. Kindly give me a figure. Kindly give me a figure times 100. Kindly give me a figure. Kindly give me a figure. It is 5. And I saw some people saying it's 5.52%. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. They never asked us to rank them. But at the end of the day, a good student knows that the one that has got the least percentage is the most sensitive. The one that has got the least percentage is the worst one, is the critical one that has to be really taken good care of. Otherwise, it's going to mess things. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. And now that marks the end. There's a student who told me earlier on to project our homework question. This is the homework question. This is the homework question. The homework question. This is 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 the homework question. And then the other thing, so I hope you guys have been able to take a photo of this. I hope you guys have been able to take a photo of this. And then I would want us to go to the last area here, which is the weaknesses of sensitivity analysis. Weaknesses of sensitivity analysis. So you see, under sensitivity analysis, each variable must change in isolation. This is a big weakness. We know in practice, ladies and gentlemen, variables are interrelated. They move, in this case here, together like a herd or a flock of what here? Sheep. So if you tell me to be isolating really factors, that is what here? That's a bad idea. Number two, it does not take into account probabilities of change occurring. Like now in the mathematics that you have just done here, there is no probability, there is no risk which is being brought on board. Some factors, even if you are together, they are the most sensitive, are beyond the control of management, are beyond the control of management, are beyond the control of management. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't mind, I would want straight away to move to the next concept. Allow me to move to the next concept. So remember, these notes are already in your app. And the good thing with the app is that even if you are to miss a class, like this session, I'm going to upload it in the app immediately. So you'll be able to access whatever lessons you miss in the app automatically. So it's an offline app, very important app that all of us, ladies and gentlemen, should be able to do what here to be. So there is the concept of what here, purity. Some factors, even if they are sensitive, they could be beyond the control of what? Management. So even if you are saying, ladies and gentlemen, that they are critical, let's be giving them more time. Even if you are to give them more time, they are not things that you can control. They are not stuff that you can do what you control. So that is it. So if you allow me, I'll go to scenario analysis. So can I go to scenario analysis? Do you have some energy? Do you have some energy, you good people? The next model is called scenario analysis. Scenario analysis. Yes, they have energy. They have energy. So right there, scenario analysis. Right there, scenario analysis. So under scenario analysis, scenario, let me just write the spelling nicely. So scenario analysis, scenario analysis. Tell us there that sensitivity analysis assumes that variables are independent. Assumes that variables are who? Are independent. That is why we are able to isolate them. Scenario analysis, whereas scenario analysis assumes that variables are intertwined, i.e. dependent on each other, and therefore they change simultaneously, and therefore they change simultaneously, and therefore they change simultaneously. They change simultaneously. So are we together up to there? 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 Or say yes. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, listen and listen to me very well. Under scenario analysis, three different types of scenes are always provided. Which scenes are these? The scenes are here. We have the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario. Number 2, we have the base case. The base case scenario. And then number 3, we have now the best case scenario. The best case scenario. So normally under scenario analysis, where we expect factors here to change at the same time simultaneously because they are intertwined, ladies and gentlemen, we must always talk of 3 scenes. Worst case, we have a best case, base. This is base. Base is the same as what here? Average. Base is the same as average. And then now we have best case scenario. Best case scenario. Ladies and gentlemen, for us to be able to really appreciate what you're talking about here, I would want us to look at an example. Mention their example. Example. A company is considering example. Example. A company is considering a project costing Kenya shillings 4 million. A project costing Kenya shillings 4 million. It has an economic life. Economic life is 5 years. Tax is 30%. Tax is 30%. The cork is 12%. Cork is 12%. And then now we have additional information. We have the worst. We have average. and then we have best. Great, great, great. So we have here quantity, annual, worst is 11,000 when things are not working very well on our side. Average is 12,000, and then best is 13,500. Best is 13,500, like that. So that's annual quantity. We have a selling price per unit. Selling price per unit. Selling price per unit, 750, 780. 750, 780. Then we have 800. 800. And then we have a fixed costs. Fixed costs. Fixed costs. We have 100,000. We have 120,000. We have 150,000. Like that. Please let me know whether you have been able to write up to here. Let me know whether you've been able to write up to there. Let me know whether you've been able to write up to where I am as I change my battery. As I change my battery, please tell me whether you've been able to write up to there. So have they been able to write up to here? Really? Let me check. Let me check. Yes. Thank you very much. Now they have given us continuation of this. They have told us the company's contribution margin is 85%. The company's contribution margin is 85%. The company's contribution margin is 85%. And then they want us to do something very easy. We are required here to calculate. We are required to calculate. Number one, the worst case NPV. Number two, best case NPV. Number three, they want us in this case to calculate the best NPV, So these are language basically for scenario analysis. Now, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me very well. Whenever you are given tax, compute depreciation. Whenever you see tax in finance, you must always start by computing what year tax and depreciation are natural partners. When I see tax, I have to compute depreciation. If tax is not there, don't compute depreciation. So then come and give me the depreciation here, ladies and gentlemen. Depreciation here, what do I have? So depreciation per annum, of course, I'll use straight line. It will be 4 million minus 0 divided by 5. It will be 4 million. It's straight line. So I will take the initial cost of the machine minus the scrap value, which is 0, has not been given, divided by number of years, which are 5. So could you kindly calculate depreciation per annum for me? Please give me this depreciation per annum for me. What are we able to get? Please give me this depreciation per annum for me. What are we able to get? Somebody tells me 0.8 or 800,000. Thank you very much. So every year 0.8 like that. Thank you very much. So anytime you see tax, always remember to compute depreciation. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment I do this, now I will be able to move on with this calculation very fast. So I would want to start with NPV of the worst. So please give me the revenue. of the worst. So what do you think am I going to do to be able to get revenue? You students of finance, what do you think am I going to do to be able to get revenue? What do you think? Yes, it's quantity times price. It is price times quantity. So it is price times quantity, you're right. So like now here, I will talk of worst 750 times 11,000. Could you kindly give me a figure, somebody here? 750 times 11,000. What figure am I getting, ladies and gentlemen, because of time? What figure am I getting? So 750 times 11,000, what figure will I get? What figure will I get? 750 times 11,000, what figure shall I get? 750 times 8.25, eh? So 8250,000. Double underline that figure. Double underline that figure. Why am I double underlining it? It's because instead of them giving me variable cost, they have given me the contribution margin ratio. When they give me the contribution margin ratio, I'll use this to get the total contribution. So therefore, the total contribution will be, they've told me it is 80%, right? They've told me the contribution margin percentage. The contribution margin percentage is 85. So it is 85% of revenue. It's 85% of revenue. So could you kindly give me this figure? What will be the total contribution be? What will be the total contribution be? Because it is contribution margin ratio. So using the contribution margin percentage, then I should be able to get the total contribution. So 0.85 times this gives me what figure? Gives me what figure, somebody? It gives me 70, 12, 9, 500. 70, 12, 70, 12, 70, 12, 500. So this is what we call total contribution. When I get total contribution, what do you think should be the next thing that I should do to be able to get profits? Remember, NPV is a child of profit. So can remind us, what do we deduct from total contribution to be able to get profit? What do we deduct from total contribution? Less fixed cost. So come and subtract fixed cost. So less fixed cost. Is there anybody who is able to see the fixed cost under worst? Is there anybody who is able to see the fixed cost under worst? Mine, I've deleted mine. I rubbed mine. 100,000. Somebody tells me 100,000. 100,000. Please subtract that 100,000 for you to give me the profit here. So what those students have been able to remember very fast is that for us to get profit, we normally take total contribution minus fixed cost. Total contribution minus fixed cost. So could you kindly subtract 70, 12, 500 minus 100,000? What are we able to see? What are we able to see? Somebody talk to me tonight. Somebody talk to me tonight. Somebody talk to me tonight. So somebody tells me it is 69, 12, 69, 12, 69, 12, 500, 69, 12, 69, 12, 69, 12, 500. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, remember that whatever profit you get, not unless you're told otherwise, the very first profit you get will be profit before depreciation and tax. It will be profit before the first profit you get, not unless you're told otherwise. It is profit before depreciation and tax. And then now you allow me to use the longer method. Use the longer method to knock all the expenses. So less depreciation. Depreciation you gave, it was 0.8 million, remember. So depreciation was 800,000. Allow me to use the longer method today. So please knock depreciation. I cannot hear. I cannot hear you, Ton. You can't hear. How about the other students? Are you able to hear Mwalimu? Are you able to hear Mwalimu, the other students? The other students, are they able to hear Mwalimu? Yes. So Newton perhaps needs to get out. I don't know what. So please subtract for me. Please subtract for me in the interest of time. Please subtract for me in the interest of time. Subtract for me in the interest of time. What do we have there? I'm using the longer approach. 61, 12, 500. 61, 12, 500. 61, 12, 500. So we call this profit before tax. I want to knock the tax down. So please subtract tax. So less tax. Tax, they give me a figure of 30%. So can you give me 30% of 61, 12, 500, 30%? 30%, can you give me 30%? 30% of this, 30% of 61, 12, 500? 18, 33,750. 18, 33,750. Please subtract that for you to be able to give me what we call the profit after what year? Profit after taxation. Please, it was 30% of this, which gave us this amount. So could you kindly give me the profit after taxation? Please give me the profit after tax. Profit after taxation. What do we have here for profit after taxation? What do we have here for profit after taxation? Profit after taxation. So profit after taxation, I'm being given a figure of 42,78,750. I'm being given a figure of 42,78,750. So having gotten profit after tax, remember now it's about changing this thing to cash flow. What do you think will I do to this profit after tax to change it to cash flow? What do you think should I do? I'll come, if I'm using the longer approach, I'll come and add back depreciation. So add back depreciation. So when I add back depreciation of 800,000, remember, I'll be able to get what we call the operating cash flow. The operating cash flow per annum, which will give me what figure? The operating cash flow per annum, that will give me which figure? That will give me which figure? Somebody add for me. Add for me. Somebody add for me. Which is a 50,78,750. 50,78,750. 50,78,750. Thank you very much. So this is the cash flow per annum. Once you give me the cash flow per annum, I know this is an annuity, remember. So I'll be able to multiply the PV for etc, and that is where we shall begin from in our next session. In our next session will be of advanced financial management, which will be on Sunday at 8 p.m. Otherwise, thank you very much. It has been a pleasure hosting you. It has been a pleasure hosting you. It has been a pleasure hosting you.